and I
Oh.
didn't text her back to be honest.
You
And
ghosted her?
yeah, usually I don't ghost either. Like I'll always say like if it just doesn't work out. But honestly, that experience was so draining that I was just like, God, if she doesn't understand that that date was bad, then God. So
So,
yeah, it was pretty rough. It was definitely bad on my end too. I shouldn't have ghosted her, but I think she got the message.
do you think it was maybe because she was nervous? She just talked a lot. She
No,
made her
it was what
nervous.
she was talking about that made it kind of like she was kind of she kept kind of like what do you call it? Like trying to upplay herself, I guess you can say, and just make herself sound like super duper awesome, I guess. And it came off in a way where she just seemed really self centered. Like that's what it felt like. And it just
Oversell.
yeah, oversell, big time oversell. And it didn't work out. Like the chemistry wasn't even there. Like it was like once we met, you could just feel it not feeling right. You know how it is when you date, like you just don't you know if it's right or not. And for me, it just didn't feel right from the get-go. So I was just like, you know what, this will be definitely a what do you call it? Courtesy date.
Courtesy date.
Yeah, so I didn't want to leave immediately, obviously. I mean, that'd
Oh,
be
see,
super rude.
oh no, GT, no. So here's my follow-up question.
Go
Did
for
you
it.
pay for the date?
Yes, I did.
Listen,
I spent a whole $10 on that date.
that's what I was gonna say. Listen, I'm proud of you. The coffee date, that's the seal of approval for me. Like that's the smart way to go. If you're gonna spend money on a date, if a guy is going to be the how listen, shush, Damian, I see you. If a guy is determined and he's like, I am paying for this date, coffee date, at least a coffee date.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And
You're
that's
not
the
spending that
thing.
much
Like
money.
since I'm like old fashioned, I always like pay for the first date. I mean, that's just how it is. But thankfully in this day and age with dating, I feel like it's never implied that the guy pays for the date. Cause like I've been on dates where if they go on for more than one date, then she'll offer to pay and stuff like that. And I don't refuse it. I mean, hell, I don't mind it at all. So, we'll just take turns most of the time.
See, and I'm good with that. So the date I went on Tuesday, he made it clear beforehand that he was paying for it. Damien's not thrilled about this, obviously. You can see his face. But he was like, we're going to get ramen. It is on me. And Damien was not thrilled that I let him pay. We also went to a store and he bought me a record, and Damien was also mad. Even though
On
I
the
was like,
first
no,
date?
I'm good.
Bought her a gift on a first
On the
date.
first date?
Flag on the play.
I had a great date.
I'm sure you did because it
it's
benefited
definitely a
you.
win for you, but it's kind of like weird to be buying gifts on the first date. I mean, but here's the thing: you guys have already talked before,
Yes.
so that is kind of different. It'd be different if this was like a totally, first time thing. But you guys have met in the past, so it shouldn't be that weird. It depends on how long you guys have known each other and how long you guys have been friends.
It wasn't that weird to me. I wasn't expecting it, and I wasn't like, even though he was like, no, like, please he's like, don't be lame, please, just let me buy you, like, pick one out.
He reverse psychologied her by telling her that she's being lame by not letting him buy her a gift.
Oh, man.
Okay, so that first one, Trax, you did 10 minutes. The chemistry wasn't there. You ghosted her. Let's call what it is. You ghosted.
I mean, it was ghosting. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. And this was a while back too. I've learned a lot since then.
Okay, good. So in your Papa Trax phase now, is your Grandpa Trax? Maybe now when you were younger Trax. Has your view on dating changed? And if so, how much has it changed?
I mean, I know not to ghost people no matter what. So that's one thing I don't do anymore is ghost. No matter how bad the date went, I'll be straightforward. Like, even if I don't tell them face to face, I'll definitely text later and be like, hey, I just don't think this is going to work out or anything like that. and just tell them the truth. And they either text back or they don't text back. And that's pretty much how it goes. But somebody's got to say that. Somebody's got to play that card, or else you're going to be somebody's going to be wasting their time. So.
Fair enough. So in that realm, have you gone on any good dates in the last, let's say, 5 years?
Yes. Yeah, I've been on some good dates, been on some great dates. I mean, I was seeing someone for about 2 months, and we had some great first dates. They were awesome. We had a good time. It's funny because these dates actually took place in Denton as well. So
it's a great place. It's a great place for a date.
The square. I mean, there's so many places to go, and there's even in the middle of COVID, you know, people are still out and about, you know, wearing their mask, being smart, and it's enjoyable. It's really enjoyable.
You can walk around the square with a beer in your hand, like it's fantastic.
For those who aren't from Dallas, Denton is about maybe 30 minutes north, 40 minutes north, depending on where you live. It's essentially a college town that is really quirky, is the word I'm going to use.
A mini Austin for the most part.
There you go. It's a mini Austin, Texas.
Yeah, it's basically a mini Austin.
It is where I currently reside. It is great. I love it.
That's awesome.
Nobody asked you for that.
I just want people to know that I'm hip and cool like Denton. And I can't even say it without laughing.
If you have to say that.
You are not that.
Oh, no.
You walked into that one, Home Slice.
I did knowingly. I knowingly walked into that one.
So walk us through a Game Track's first date. What's the process? What does he do? Does he have pre-date rituals? Like, walk us through this.
You know what's funny? I don't have any pre-date rituals. I just make sure that I'm, you know, that I look nice, obviously. You know, I feel like there's some people that go on dates and they don't even try. Like,
thank you.
Yeah. So, you know, I feel like you should try. I mean, even though, because I don't go into dates trying to, like, it's hard to say this, but it's true. I don't try to impress people, because, like, impressing people kind of comes off as like you're trying to put on this facade that, you know, you're just the all well put together and all this kind of stuff. But I like to make a good first impression, though. And first impressions are like the basics. You know what I mean? Like, if you have, you know, if you're being real, being true to yourself, obviously, you're clean, you know, clean, your clothes, you know, are nice and all this kind of stuff. Just little stuff. You know, I don't go on dates in like a button down, but I'll make sure that I don't look like a ragamuffin. So, you know, that's one thing I do, you know, make sure I do before I go on a date, is like make sure I'm clean and look good and all that kind of stuff, which is a norm anyway. Another thing too is like with because I feel like you guys can pretty much agree on this. Most of the dates that most people go on, especially this year, are going to be through dating apps. And it's funny because, like, way back, like 5-6 years ago, when talking about dating on dating apps was so like frowned upon. It was like, I met her on a dating app. Like, what do you mean a dating app? You know, but now it's like the norm. Like, everybody's doing it. It's the easiest way to go on dates and almost the only way at this point. But anyway, one thing I always make sure to do is to call the person that I'm going on the date with, because we don't talk much anymore, like on the phone and stuff like that. That's just not a thing. Like, there are times where I'll be talking to somebody for like a good month or two before we even have a phone conversation. You know what I mean? It's crazy. But I'll make sure to call them because I want to know what they sound like. Because
I was just going to say that.
There has been, you know what? I take it back. There was one date that wasn't great, but we're still friends, which works out. But I ended up calling her as I was driving to the place, and like her voice was very different from what I was expecting. And I mean, I know that sounds super shallow, but it just sounded really weird. And I was like, that is not what I expected. But yeah, now I make sure I always call people before I go on dates. So that's one thing that's important, is having at least a mini conversation, like, you know, hey, where are we going to meet? Blah, 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 that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Let's be real, Papa Tracks. You know, you just want to hear the voice so they don't sound like a squealing banshee.
That is very true. That is extremely true.
Or they sound as if they smoke 10 packs a day.
Exactly. You never know. Like, seriously, you'll end up like calling the person and just like, hello. And I'm just like, oh my God, what did I sign up for? But no, thing is, like, one thing I realize about texting in general is you can think about whatever you want to say before you say it when you're texting.
Yes.
You know, you can take as much time as you want. That's why people like doing it, is because you can sound like the most awesome person ever through text messages, but then when you have to talk to someone face to face, you can't pause and just like think about what you're going to say before you send it. You know, you have to be right on board. Like, it's a real conversation. So that's one thing I always want to make sure too, is that it's not super awkward when we meet and we're talking, and we can't have the same, you know, conversations we had when we were texting through the app or through the phone or whatever. But yeah, and then once we're on the date, like I said, I usually always try to do coffee dates, because it's just, I mean, let's be real here. It's cheap. It's really inexpensive. Another thing too is you're not sitting there stuffing your face while you're trying to have a conversation and get to know this person. You know, you just sip your coffee and or your tea or your water or whatever it is you have, and you are forced to talk. So yeah.
I remember years ago, people used to just go to the movies on a first date, which I never understood, because you're not talking. You're not getting to know the person. You're literally watching a movie or not talking.
Well, let's be real here. Most
or having sex in the back of the theater.
See, most of those dates were based on like whether or not you were going to make out. Like, that's pretty much what it was.
Exactly.
I haven't been on a first movie date since I was in like high school.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a while back. But yeah,
way back in 1865. Right.
you older than me. Don't be saying that. But no, yeah, it's one of those things where like it took me, because before I started doing coffee dates, I would do lunch dates or food dates. You know, it would always be food. You know, and there have been some times where like we get along so well, like on the phone and stuff, that we'll end up going like to an amusement park or something. And I don't mean like Six Flags, but maybe like mini golf or something like that. It's like, you know, it's still relatively inexpensive, but the only thing about that is it can get uncomfortable depending on what the weather is like. I know that sounds like a lot, but it could mean a lot to whatever, because you're already nervous for the most part. No matter how cool you are, somebody's going to be nervous on the date, and you don't want to be sweating and being gross. It's stuff like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, that's why coffee is the simplest.
And do you do any wardrobe changes?
Shut up.
Do you do any wardrobe changes before your dates, PT?
Wait, what do you mean wardrobe changes before my date?
You try something on, you don't think it looks right, you put something else on, and you overanalyze it, and then you wind up changing 5-6 times before your date.
I don't go that far. I mean, there's been times where I'll get a shirt and I'm like, I kind of don't like this shirt that much. But the thing is, I've become so accustomed with just being myself that like what I'm wearing now is something I'd wear on a date. And the crazy thing about it is the person I'm trying to date has to like that style, because that's me. You know what I mean? Right. It's who I am. Like, I'm not going to be wearing a button up, because that'll probably be the first and last time you see me in one. You know, I wear it on the first date, because I hate dress. You know, I can dress up when it's necessary, but if I don't have to dress up, I like being comfortable. Like, let's be real here. I want to be as comfortable as possible on the date, but also, you know, make sure I look okay, you know?
Okay, so there's a reason he's asking this, because I had actually posted on this dating page, because right before my date, I changed like, I don't know how many times. I changed my outfit so many times because I was so nervous. And it wasn't that, like, I don't own clothes that I don't typically would wear normally. And it wasn't looking for that. It was, one, I knew we were going to be the square walking around. So I wasn't wearing heels. That was not going to happen. I don't hardly ever wear heels anyways. But two, I felt like if I didn't put some sort of effort in, it would be like disrespectful. Like you said, like, put some effort in. I mean, there's one date I showed up, and I did warn this person beforehand that I was like, I'm in leggings and a t-shirt, and that I hate that I did that. I actually hate that I did that I didn't put any effort in, because they were a really cool person. But like, so I panicked, and part of it was my own mindset of thinking I outshot my coverage during this date, and I was like putting way way more effort in, and I was nervous, and it was a mess, and he's been making fun of me for it.
No. I'm not making fun of you because you were nervous. I'm making fun of you because you brought it to the public masses, and then you had other people chiming in talking about, girl, show up in whatever you want to. If he can't handle you looking at your worst, you don't deserve the best bullshit. That's why.
That's crap.
Yeah, well, I felt weird if I didn't put any effort in at all. So,
All right. So Topher in the chat says, wow, it's been so long since I first dated someone. That's because you're married. Okay, dude? You are married.
Yeah. Well,
You shouldn't be dating anyone if you're married. You should be dating
a single trio, man. The single trio right now. Figuring this out.
Lauren says, hey, Game Tracks.
Hello.
Tracks.
How's it going?
Papa Tracks. That was what he would be known as for the duration of the show.
Oh, man.
So, okay, no dating rituals beside getting clean. You like to talk beforehand. Yep. You've had one really bad date where you ghosted, but you learned a lesson from that. So far, there's been growth here. And then you do online dating because, let's face facts, like you said, even before COVID, the swipe culture was a thing. Now, if you had your druthers, would you prefer meeting people organically, or would you prefer the current system of swipe culture?
So you want to know what's funny? At the very beginning of this year, one thing I wanted to do more than anything was actually meet someone organically, because me and my best friend talk a lot. And one thing he told me, he was like, dude, I think you're going to meet somebody through Twitch. Like, I think you're going to meet them at a con online or something along those lines. And this year was going to be the year where I tried to go to every single con I could and all this stuff. And I even deleted my dating apps. Like, I deleted my dating apps. I was like, you know what? I'm deleting them. I'm going to try to weed myself out of this culture. I want to meet somebody organically because I just feel like that is so much. It takes work, but the kind of work that it takes pays off. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, me and Sarah kind of discussed this. Like, we're both definitely afraid of rejection. And that's one of the reasons why I never went on dates in an organic manner. It's so much easier to know if someone isn't attracted to you, because obviously you're not going to swipe on them because they've already swiped left. So that was the thing. I wanted to meet people that way. But unfortunately, you know, COVID happened and kind of put a stop to everything, and had to re-download those apps.
And have you had any success at all on those apps?
Yes, actually. Oddly enough, this year, I only have one too. But this year I've been on more dates than I went on last year. But that could just be a lot of things. I think a lot of it has to do with people just being lonely. I mean, let's be real here. A lot of people are lonely, stuck at home, don't have anything to do. So let's get on this dating app and see if we can make some magic happen. And that's pretty much what it is.
Lauren said you met a lot of people organically at FPR.
FP Free Play. Well, yeah. I mean, you know what? Technically, I met you guys. I met the whole Twitch community. I mean, the whole Free Play community through Twitch, and then I met them in person. So yeah, I met Chris once, but all the rest of you guys, I met through
Twitch.
Through Twitch. So,
and all the jokes about Harry Hines.
Oh my God, those VGM Wednesday conversations.
Look, okay, for those that don't know, Papa Tracks here has been made into an official mascot for Freeplay Richardson in terms of a volleyball that looks like Sonic the Hedgehog, and that's basically Game Tracks as a volleyball. So that is what endeared me more to him when I met him, was the fact that he was willing to roll with those punches. Well, dude, guess funny. I'm the volleyball.
Yeah. It ended up being so creative too. I was just expecting my face to be on that ball, but he made it into a whole friggin' mascot. It looked like Cool Spot.
Which is not a bad game. I know a lot of people poop on it.
It's not a bad
hard. Game. It's hard. It's difficult. So Topher in the chat, so glad my culture was meeting someone at a club, exchanging numbers, talking for hours, and then going out on that first date. That's way too much effort.
I was in there. I was during that time. I mean, heck, we haven't been around. Smartphones haven't been around forever. We had to make effort to make that. The first like serious relationship I was ever in. I worked at Target and met this girl through a friend that worked at Target with me, and she was like, "Hey, my friend has a crush on you," and I was like, "Oh, really?" So her friend ended up popping up, and I was like, oh God, she's gorgeous. So heck, we ended up dating that way. Like it was kind of like a hookup, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was something that was more prominent like in high school and like, you know, college and stuff. Somebody would tell you, oh, so and so likes you or whatever. And that's kind of how I would, you know, pick up after that.
Okay.
Now I feel like it's just so hard to approach people. Like, is it just me, or does that feel like that there's some truth to that? Like it's harder to approach people now than it was before.
There's definitely truth to that. It's because we're so used to everything has gone online, everything, and no one knows how to approach people in person. That's part of that's. I am with you on meeting organically, but I still have that art of being able to walk up to people and have conversations. Most people do not know how to have that, or even how to handle it when people approach them and just start talking to them. So
yeah,
I mean,
you'll sit there and like not talk to somebody the whole night, and then all of a sudden you find each other on like Facebook or something because you're part of the same group, and then you start talking like, wait, you were there? That's what it's like now.
I'm pretty sure, especially when I met you, I'm pretty sure I'm the one that came up to you and just started talking because that's just what I do.
Right. I'm trying to think. I think, yeah, what happened is you added me on Facebook, and I was like, wait, who's Sarah? And I saw that you were part of the Freeplay group, and I was like, oh, she has to be cool. So then I just added you then, and then
did Sarah creep in those DMs? Is that
no?
She didn't DM me. She added me on Facebook, and I think that's how we initially met. But then we actually met because you were talking about how you worked at Richardson, and I was like, wait, but I go to Richardson all the time. And then you told me you were like brand new there. Yeah, we met at Arlington.
We met in Arlington. Oh, yeah. I remember that night. Oh, that night.
Because of Lauren.
Lauren, yeah.
Yeah, Lauren invited me out. Yeah, Lauren invited me out. She basically made me come out. And the thing is, it's so funny because I was really not wanting to come. In my head, like in my brain, I was kind of like, oh, I don't really want to go, because you know how it is sometimes. You get stuck in your little bubble. You're just afraid to go mingle and meet people, just like people are now. And I decided, you know what, it'll be fun. And I just went, and I had a blast. Like that was one of the coolest nights. Even though we didn't even do a whole lot, it was just fun. Like it was a good time, and met cool people and all that stuff. So it was great.
And speaking of, she goes, I would meet people at the mall or the movies and then flirt, then exchange house numbers, and told them not to call me after 9 o'clock or else I'd get into trouble. Or do what we did in school before we had cell phones and exchange notes.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yep. You're just a little younger than me, Lauren. I remember those days. I have 5 brothers who like to get on the other line and listen in too. So.
See, my older brother would do that kind of stuff too, listen in on the line.
I distinctly remember my mom once picked up my personal phone line in my room. So she walked all the way across the hall, picked up my phone, and a woman called me. And at the time I was 20. And she said, stop calling my son. He doesn't want to talk to hoes like you.
Oh, no.
So I know that whole don't call me until after so-and-so time.
Oh, man. I was confused. Oh, you had your own personal line. My mom wouldn't even let me close the door.
Yeah, right?
Like, leave that door open. But,
and you're like, why? I'm just minding my own business.
We're just playing video games. But
video games.
Oh, man.
More like Naked Twister, but that's beside the point. Well, no, the funny thing is I brought up a game potentially for someone in the other group we're a part of, because they were talking about Candyland and strip poker. And I said, why not strip Candyland? Combine a childhood favorite and make it adult themed.
Oh, man.
Like I got your Peppermint Mountain right here. You know what I mean?
That sounds like a fun night, honestly. And I'm not saying plan it. I'm saying when you're in a relationship, I could find a way for that to be fun.
Topher said he had to sneak girls into his room through a window.
You know what? My brother did that. I never went that far.
I never tried to sneak anything. My parents do not believe this.
Yeah, I've never been a sneaker, or I've never had anyone sneak in because I was just too, chicken shit to do it.
Yep.
To be
I'd
honest.
be the one to get caught. I would be the one to get caught. Like, I will never forget. This is how much of a rebel I was in school. I decided someone told me, oh, my stepmother told me I should skip class because that's what all high schoolers do. You should have a chance to skip class. I was like, all right, I'm gonna be brave and do this. And I just went to the bathroom and hid, and I was like, there's nothing to do. I'm not gonna walk out because I'm gonna get caught by the security guard, and I'm just gonna go back to class. And I just was late to class. That is the most rebellious thing I've ever done.
Yeah, I never skipped either. I'm not gonna lie. We had a skip day at our high school, and I did not join in on that because I was like, I do not want to get caught and get in trouble.
I love you, I love you both, but you're both so goody two shoes. It's not even funny,
dude. I was in high school, like I was just not the rebel type. I really wasn't. I obeyed the rules, all that kind of stuff. I was a class clown though. I was definitely a class clown. I got in more trouble being a class clown than anything, but.
Nigel's Neverland says, strip Candyland, hit a slide, then you slide those panties down.
Listen,
Nigel already writing the rule book for it.
I'm not even lying. I'm taking notes right now. This is gonna happen. Not with anyone here. I have, this is for future plans. I'm creating a game. I'm gonna sell it. Not to Hasbro. Someone. I'm gonna sell this. This is happening.
To go. You'll sell it too. Oh man.
All right, so Lauren says, I would tell my parents I was going to the movies with some girlfriends, so then they would drop me off. I would stand there, wave goodbye, and once I couldn't see the car anymore, I would meet up with the BF. So sneaky.
Skills. See, I would meet my date at the movies too, but they wouldn't know that my date was going to be there because my parents are really like overprotective with that kind of stuff. And heck, they're still like that. Like my mom is just really picky about who I date. Like that's why I don't let her know anything until like it's been at least like 2 or 3 months. Then I'm like, hey, I'm dating someone. I'm like, who are you dating?
None your business, mama. None your business.
All right. Let me live my life.
So how much has your dating taste changed in terms of what you're looking for? From when Papa Trax was running the streets at 1920, sneaking girls through his window, versus now.
Dude, my dating taste has changed I want to say maybe like, it's been pretty stagnant for the past like 3 years. But back then I didn't know what I wanted, to be honest. Like I went through so many different phases. And the thing is, man, like, I mean, obviously this is kind of personal, but like, I'm not a dating person. Like I've been in 4 pretty serious relationships. And like, I think the first one lasted 2 years. The second one lasted 3. The third one lasted 5. Yeah. So 3 serious relationships. Yeah. 3 real serious relationships. But then after that 5-year relationship, it was kind of like, oh boy, like something, I really need to figure out what I need to do with myself before I start trying to be in these serious relationships. And that's what I did. I just decided, you know what, I'm really going to stay single on purpose. And I stayed single on purpose for a year to just kind of focus on myself. And I mean, that's kind of how I started doing the whole game tracks thing and, you know, all this different stuff. So yeah. And what's crazy too, is like dating now. I mentioned the streaming thing very early on now, because it's a big part of my life. And it's like, if you don't even have the slightest bit of interest in it, then it's probably not going to work.
Right.
You know, you don't have to be down with it. Obviously, you don't have to be like ecstatic about it, but you have to be somewhat supportive. And if I don't sense that, I mean, that's one of the reasons why my last little mini relationship ended, is because, you know, she just didn't care at all about it. And I was just like,
was the older lady?
Mm-hmm. This was the first older woman I've ever dated. Usually I'm always dating women that are younger than me. But yeah, she was the first one that was older than me. But the thing is, she didn't even look older than me. She actually looked younger than me. But yeah, that's why that didn't work. Because she didn't care about the whole Twitch thing. And I mean, I stuck to my schedule. Thing is, I know I'm like ranting, but thing is, when it comes to dating and meeting someone new, I no longer believe, and this is something that I did in all my other relationships, is I would put her on a pedestal and I would make all my adjustments based around her. And at the end of the day, that would really start to just kind of mess with me and my mental. And I realized that's a big mistake. Like, you can't do that in relationships. Like, it's basically, I'm going to be happy with whatever I'm doing as a single person. And when you come into my life, it's like you have to be extra. Like, you have to be like, okay, I'm not changing anything I do that's not bad. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't consider it to be something that's really, really bad, or anything that's going to be like something that's going to make me a better person, then I'm not going to change it. Like, say if I get into this relationship, they're like, I don't like that you do Twitch. Oh, well, bye.
Yeah.
That's literally what it would be, because that is important to me.
Mm-hmm.
I know
you're good, because this is actually is part of the point we were trying to make about every week we talk about being on your purpose, not putting people on pedestals. Don't chameleonize yourself for the betterment of somebody else. And a lot of us have made that mistake in our dating history, where we wanted to like everything that the other person liked, and we tried to cover things up about us that made us unique, just so the person would see us in a better light. And to your point, I agree with you. As long as I'm not doing anything bad, I'm not, as I like to say, blowing up orphanages and killing bunny rabbits, I don't see the problem here. So if you running a Twitch stream, which is a source of income for you, while thusly being something you're passionate and purposeful about, what's the problem? You're not outside selling meth, right?
Right. See, and that's another thing too. But and this will be another interesting little tidbit here. Is one thing I would do when I went on dates is I would downplay Twitch, like it wasn't a big deal to me. Like, I would mention it, but I'd be like, oh, it's just, a little something I do on the side. But now I realize, it's like, I really love this, and I should talk. Like, one thing that my best friend told me, and I'm going to bring up my best friend a lot. He's like a mentor to me. But one thing he told me is like, hey, if you treat it as like, if you don't have pride in what you do, then people aren't going to treat it that way. Right. And after that, I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right, man. Like, seriously, if they don't get it, then they're not going to get it. Like, if they ask, like, it's kind of like, if you have to have a certain response. Like, it's like, if you are saying, if I say, oh, by the way, I do Twitch, I have my schedule, blah, 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 blah. And if they're like, oh, what's Twitch? Then I already know right there. It's like, all right, you know what? You have a little bit of an interest in this. Because some people are just like, oh, that's cool, and have no idea what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Like, you're twitching your eye. What is that? Like, no, it's not twitching my eyeball. Like, stop it.
It's not Twitch the dancer. I get that all the time. Apparently there's a dancer named Twitch. I'm just like, who even is that? I don't know who Twitch the dancer is.
So I actually have a funny story. I went on a date. It was during COVID, so it wasn't really a date. It was a video date, because it was like I don't know, maybe it was right in February, January. I don't remember when it was. And with a big Twitch streamer. And I don't remember who they were, but I'll never forget. It did not work out well, because the entire time we were talking, we weren't really talking. He was on video game the entire time. And I was like, I cannot get to know you.
Wait, he was streaming on the date?
I don't know that he was streaming, but he was on the game at least the entire time. And like, we would be in the middle of a conversation, like in the middle of my sentence, and then he's like, if you blah, 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 doing this game. I'm like, well.
Oh my God. Yeah, see, that is something that's terrible. Because that's the thing on dates. You gotta, like, I don't use my phone when I'm on my date. I literally will take my phone out of my pocket most of the time, and I'll put it face down on the table. So you know that I'm not going to bother my phone. Because that's the thing. Like, when you want to get to know each other, that's what you're there to do. Get to know each other, One thing I'm trying to figure out, and I think we talked a little bit about this. I don't know if I talked about it with you, Damian, or I know I talked a little bit about it with you, Sarah. It's like the whole text game, the whole texting game. Yeah, we all talked about this. Is like, I'm not quite sure how much attention you're supposed to expect from the other person, and how much you're supposed to give, because you don't want to come off desperate, obviously, and like be that person that's like answering their messages the minute they type them, or you also don't want to be that person that waits like an entire day to reach them back either. So I just feel like being organic is the easiest way.
It was you and I talking about this, because I'm going to tell you, Damian will have a different view. That he'll wait a whole day or two before he responds to people. I know he does that. You don't
wait a whole day or two. No. If I'm in the midst of doing something, I'm not going to text back. Or if it's someone I'm super interested in, I'll let them know, hey, really busy today. Just don't think I'm ghosting you. So I put the preface there. But I'm not a texter for 5 hours on my phone anyway. I'm not near my phone that often.
See, that I feel like more people should do. Like, just let somebody know that you're busy, simple as that. Because I'll even have my really busy days where I don't have, where I'm not on my phone all that much. And there's sometimes where I'll just forget to text back, like straight up, even if it's somebody I'm like legitimately interested in. Like, I'll look at their message, but then I won't have time to respond to it like I want to. But you know how on your phone, the notification's gone. And I'm just like, oh shit, I never text so-and-so back. So then I'll have to go on my phone and be like, oh, hey, my bad. It took me forever to text back, yada, yada, yada. And nowadays I hardly do that. Like, I don't apologize for taking a while to text, because like, all right, if you didn't text me back, then obviously you're not bothered by it.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So yeah,
we're
lately
adults,
I apologize.
First off.
Yeah, we're all adults. We're all busy. We got stuff to do. So
I think that like that's
that.
one similar thing between all three of us. I've realized none of us are really, at least from when we are all hanging out, none of us are on our phones. We're present. So which I think that's not always the case. I mean, Damian and I we were out at Fort Worth getting pizza next to Freeplay, and there was a couple on a date right next to us, and she was legitimately on her phone did not put it down the entire time. She may have responded to something to him, but it was like selfies and like texting
they were
the
talking
entire
to each
time.
other through the phone. That's the date. They were just texting each other back and forth, sending little emojis.
He wasn't on his phone, was he? It was just
he
her.
wasn't on his phone.
No, he was trying to woo her, but she was all about her phone and about the pizza.
Honestly, a date like that, I would straight up leave.
Same.
Like, I would straight up leave. I'd just be like, you know what? You have a nice night. And I would straight up leave if you would not get off your phone. Because I'm not going to ask you to get off your phone. I shouldn't have to.
No.
You should want to be present. If it's somebody that you want to spend time with, you should want to be present.
Right. Exactly.
Yep. I was not on my phone at all on Tuesday. It was in my purse.
Yep.
Didn't look at it.
Right before you went on your date, I said, have fun. Don't worry about nothing. Enjoy yourself. Don't be nervous. And you had a good time. So win all around.
Yeah. I feel like people should want to like not be on their phones for a while, especially if you meet someone new. Like, get off your people are so tied to their phones now. It's insane.
Yeah.
That's what we get for having supercomputers in our pockets.
It's our beating heart, man. Seriously, it's ridiculous.
Their connection to everything, like even the dating apps, they're on our phone. Yep. I download them at least once or twice a month, and I delete them.
Yeah, I only have one now, and I try not to be on it that much, to be honest. But it's just, at one point I had like 3. And I found myself just going through each one. As soon as I ran out of swipes, move on to the next one, run out of swipes, go on that one. I'm just like, oh my God, this is not a good addiction to have.
Which one was your favorite?
Bumble.
Bumble.
Yeah.
I like Bumble a lot. It's just because I feel like most of the people on there are not crazy. Like, I mean, the ones at least the people I've met on there aren't. But I don't know. I like that the woman has to make the first move.
Thank goodness.
Of course. Of course.
What do you mean, of course?
Nice in the dating app.
It's nice in the app where the woman makes the first move.
Because it's always been us doing it. You know what I mean? Like, it's always been the guy doing it at first.
I know.
It's funny, though, in person, it can be kind of different. It just depends. Because I think we had this discussion a little bit before, too, is like, how do we feel about, women approaching guys
Bring it on.
to like talk?
Bring it on. Let them all talk to me. I don't care. Because here's the reason why I don't mind it. I'm a good conversationalist. I do this for a living. I talk to people for a living. But the last thing I want to do is, when I'm off the clock, initiate another conversation with a stranger who might be cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, because I work with people who are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So why would I want to start doing that again? So thusly, sites like Bumble make it easy for me to be like, oh, I like you. Cool. So what it does now if a woman swipes right on me and I don't swipe right, and they get to experience the same rejection that you both are scared of for a change. And it's like, oh, you don't like it, do you? Because I've had a client that had that same situation. She did not like Bumble because she didn't like the thought of being rejected by men. And I said, well, welcome to, at the time, 2019, welcome to 2019. This is the new way of doing things. If you want to go back to 1865, be my guest.
Okay, so I have a question then.
Yes.
Because here's my problem. I actually do not have a problem approaching people and just having conversation with them.
Okay.
The problem is that's where it stops, because again, I don't know how to do the flirting. Well, I do. I refuse to do the typical, oh my God, flirting. Okay. And so, no, I can approach that person, but they will never know I'm interested. So that's the shooting your shot thing. Is it weird if a woman goes up to a man, like, and is like, oh my God, you're like really hot, like without alcohol?
I've never
Because
had that in my entire life.
I have. It's weird.
I've never had that in my entire life.
With the accent. I've had a girl with that accent, same accent that Sarah just did, the Valley Girl accent.
It's the reason I did that accent.
Say, oh my God, you are so handsome. And I'm thinking,
God.
thanks,
Alcohol
as I
was
drink
involved,
my
right?
vodka. Thank you, I guess. You know, it's weird. I don't mind, again, I don't mind if a woman comes up to me. I'm not intimidated by an independent woman who says, no, if I like a man, I'm going to go talk to him. Or at the very least, she's not going to play the I'm sending you mental signals, please notice me, you know, psychic game. That is one of my biggest pet peeves, is the dropping of hints. We live in a world where we can be very direct. Some people nowadays are more direct than others. And you should just say, hey, I like you. You want to hang out? Yes or no. If they say no, you keep it moving. That's the easiest way to go about it, in my opinion.
You know, it's like, I think in the dating scene, like outside of technology, I feel like if you just if you catch eyes or whatever and someone smiles, then that's someone's cue. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way I would always approach women, is if I'm looking at them and they look at me back and smile or something or whatever, then it's like, okay, she thinks I'm cute or she's interested. Then we'll go and talk. You know, simple as that. But
do you have a pickup line, Game Tracks?
No,
Oh.
I actually have no pickup lines.
Not a one?
I'm terrible at that kind of stuff, y'all. It's ridiculous. Like, I'm not good at pickup lines. And the older I've gotten, the more I've been just wanting to keep it real. Like I said, I don't want to, you know, I'm not trying to impress somebody at this point. I'm just trying to be like, hey, this is me. Let's talk. You know what I'm saying? And she should be the same way. You know, I can tell if she's putting on a facade, and I could see the red flags right off the gate. So it's like, this isn't going to go anywhere, or it is going to go somewhere, you know?
Speaking of,
now that you open that door,
segue.
And yes, Nigel, that's a great pickup.
There you go. Perfect. It's easy.
Hi, Nigel. Hi, my name's Nigel. What's your name? There you go. Boom. Easy. So, GT, Papa GT, here on Damian's Advocate. What exactly are some of your dating red flags, sir?
Red flags. So one of my major red flags is just overall laziness. I'm not big on lazy people. It's one thing, because like one thing I always ask in person or in dating apps is I ask, like, what do you do for fun? Like, I mean, that's just, I feel like that's an important question, because it lets me know if you're the type of person that wants to sit around watching Netflix all day, or if you, like, you know, have some sort of a hobby, or, you know, if you have, you know, kids, because some people don't make that very clear. You know, little stuff like that. You kind of have to be somewhat active, like, because it's not even just being lazy from a physical perspective. Being lazy can also be like a mental thing too, like being mentally lazy. You know, you don't like to be stimulated. You want to just be there, you know, and that could be boring in the long run, you know, because like I'll have to be the one to carry everything, you know, when it comes to any kind of thought-provoking conversation, you know. So yeah, that's one. Laziness is a big red flag. What's another red flag? I don't know. Like, I mean, it seems so basic to me. Like, I mean, not being able to talk, like not being able to carry on a conversation. If I'm the one that's doing all the talking and you're not even trying to talk, then it's like, okay, what the heck? You know, what are we going to talk about? You know, I don't want to sit here running my mouth the whole time. We'll have that dead silence because I'm not going to do it. I will stop talking and I'll be like, so what about you? And then
So, are there physical things that are red flags? Like
physical things.
Like oh, I don't know, tattoos.
You know what? I don't mind tattoos at all. I really
What
don't.
about
Like tattoos to me don't mean a red flag because the thing with tattoos, you don't know when that person got that tattoo. You don't know what it means to that person. They could be a different person now. I believe in people changing. I mean, that kind of stuff happens all the time. So tattoos is definitely not a red flag at all. Piercings are not a red flag to me either. Let me see, physical red flags. Hygiene.
well, yeah.
I feel like that should be a prerequisite.
I know, right? That's like a prerequisite right there. That shouldn't even be a red flag. That's just like a what the heck do you know how to be in public? But you'd be surprised. Like, I mean, people that typically game sometimes don't have hygiene. Like they just don't care. They're too worried about, you know, spending that 15 minutes to get a high score or something or whatever. So yeah, that could be a thing. I've been to conventions where men and women smell.
True.
So it's gross. Yeah, have some self-respect, have hygiene and all that stuff. Let me see, what's another physical thing? I mean, I'm gonna just be 100% real here. Obviously, I don't date anyone that's just too, I mean, this is gonna sound messed up, but too big. I can't do it. Because once again, it's something like if you know, follow me and all that kind of stuff, then you know that I stay active. I run,
You're a runner.
work out, all these different things. And it's not just to be like, you know, physically in good shape. It's also to be healthy in general. Like I want to be healthy. I want to live long if I can. You know, there's so many things that can kill us. The last thing I want to kill me is something I can actually control.
Yes.
So, you know, that's one of the reasons why. And it really kind of shows a level of self-respect if you let yourself get out of control, you know, because that's what it is. Let's call it what it is. So
discipline,
it's self-discipline and all that. All that plays into it. And, you know, people always want to do the whole, you know, fat shaming thing and all that kind of stuff. I'm just not on that board. Like I'm really not. Because I come from a family that is just riddled with obesity, heart disease, and high blood pressure and all these different things. It's like I refuse to go out like that if I can help it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's important. It's very important to me. So I hope that the person I'm with, you know, that matters.
That goes along with mindset, though. That a lot of that goes along with mindset. Having a healthy mindset tends to go along being with physically healthy too. Not always, but people that are physically healthy and constantly working on themselves and their health typically have a healthier mindset. And like you said, you don't like the laziness. It's not that you can't, if you're working out consistently all the time, there's no way you're mentally lazy because that stuff's hard. Getting up and running sucks. Getting up and lifting weights like all the time at 5 a.m. sucks. I don't do it that early. There's no way.
Yeah, me neither.
You're having to sacrifice something else and time somewhere else, and it's not always an easy choice. So yeah, I get that. Right, 100%.
So now that we've covered a little bit of the red flags tracks, I just want to ask you, what exactly? I know you're not actively looking, and if someone happens to fall from the universe and say, "Ta-da, here I am," but if that person did exist, what are the traits that you'd be looking for?
I mean, I think one of the biggest things is just brains. Like I have grown to be from like I can even skimp on like some physical stuff to get more brains out of a person. You know what I mean? Like I just want somebody that I can actually like talk to and have like meaningful conversations and you know, someone you can build with. I mean, that's kind of what it really is about. Like being in relationships, if you're trying to do it for the long haul, then you need to be in a partnership. It can't just be, you know, you're attractive, I'm attractive, let's get together and let's do this. You know, there has to be, you know, lots of, you know, make some goals with one another, you know, little stuff like that goes a long way. I mean, they don't have to be goals that you both agree with, but they have to be goals you both support. You know, I think that's a big part of it too, is being supportive. You know, that's really important. That was the last thing that kind of ended my, you know, previous serious relationship, is the lack of support. You know, I felt like, you know, I was doing too much. It just got overwhelming. And yeah, that does a lot to your mental when you feel like you're carrying all the weight and someone is just there, you know. It's like you can't have all the answers. But yeah, no support. I would like them to be interested in Twitch because here's the thing. Like, when I'm in a relationship, if someone has a hobby, no matter what it is that they are passionate about and love, as long as it's nothing, you know, obviously, you know, bad or questionable, but I'm gonna be all in for it. I'm gonna support it 100%. I don't care if you like to knit sweaters. You know, I don't care if you want to run a 5K marathon or a marathon or something along those lines. You know, that shows me that you're passionate about something. You know, and a lot of people go their entire lives without being passionate about anything. And I think that's one of the biggest keys to like overall like joy and happiness is finding that sense of purpose. And if you don't find that like before you enter a relationship, it can be kind of difficult because you'll rely too heavily on the person to make you happy rather than yourself, you know, making yourself happy. So yeah.
Which is why we talk about often being on your purpose and knowing your worth and who you are first before jumping in a relationship, because that very easily breeds codependency for sure.
I mean, we've all been in even friendships that are a little too codependent, or so we can only just fathom relationships. And how I can speak to my parents. One cannot function without the other, and it boggles my mind that my parents are much older than me. Obviously, my father's in his 80s, my mom's in her 70s. But they still, even before this, could not function without one another. And it just baffles me as to why you wouldn't want to just kind of take your awesomeness. Another person has their awesomeness, and you bring the awesomeness together, but you don't need the other person to be awesome. I know I'm minimizing it, but that's how I view it. It's really that simple. So when, you know, Trax talks about he finds his purpose, if you have a hobby like knitting, like for one, that's a really awesome freaking hobby, just an FYI, but it's something you're passionate about, something you can put your positive energy to. And if you sell stuff, sure. If you just do it just to blow off some steam, sure, that's just as good. But nowadays, a lot of people are so, to the beginning of the show, like we were saying, they chameleonize themselves to be someone they're not because they are either afraid of who they are, or they don't think they are worthy enough to get a partner because of who they are in that moment. And that's scary.
Yeah. And do you think a lot of it has to do with just how accessible things are now compared to what they were before? Because, like, I don't know. I feel like older generations probably it's a lot easier to be codependent, I guess, because
of gender roles.
Yeah, well, yeah, that of course, and then on top of that, it's like you didn't have as much information as you do now. You know, things they didn't know about back then. Mental health was not, you know, on the forefront of anything. People, you know, if you ever talked about you were having a bad day, they'd be like, "Cheer up and move on." You know, heck, even when I was young, that was the case. You know, but you know, now mental health has played such a big role in everyone's life because everyone knows about it. Let lights shed on it. Heck, anything you want to know about anything, you can just pick up your phone and look it up. You know, it's crazy. So I think a lot of that has to do with how different relationships can be now.
I agree. No, it's true. And I bring this up all the time. The illusion of choice is one of those things that can derail relationships, because we are in that swipe culture where if we have one disagreement, and earlier Sarah and I had this conversation about boundaries, healthy boundaries, and what's ultimatums, what's versus boundaries. Some people will have one argument with a partner and they're already on the dating app looking for the next one because they didn't agree with something that their partner had said. And it's running a little too rampant for my liking, to be honest. And that is something that I actually had to learn, that a real relationship is sticking it out as long as your personal boundaries are not being destroyed and you're not giving ultimatums and you have healthy communication. But most people don't have that because we have these little freaking things. It's quick for us to just say, swipe, swipe. Oh, you're cute. Swipe. Oh, you have a car? Swipe. Oh, you're 6'2". Swipe. So go ahead.
No. Okay. All right. This is like, what was I going to say? Here's a topic. Respect.
Yes.
That is the ultimate red flag. In fact, it's crazy because like some of the stuff I can't think of until like something just reminds me of it. But that was the reason me and my previous partner broke up, is due to respect. Because that's a big thing. It's like disrespect. I don't tolerate it because I am not the person to disrespect anybody. Like I'm all about respect. You know, I'm very old fashioned in that aspect. And well, okay, I guess I'll be personal. I'll tell you guys what happened, what caused us to break up. Because I told you a lot of it had to do with just the lack of interest in stuff on my end, as I was being very interested in what she had to say. And all she ever really talked about was her job, and because she was a teacher, and she was a teacher of she was an orchestra teacher. And that was her thing. You know, she loved talking about that. And I always, you know, stood by her and talked about it with her and all this kind of stuff. But whenever I talked about stuff, it was just kind of like, oh, that's neat. Oh, that's cool. Never like questions about it. You know what I mean? So anyway, we're in the car on the way to one of her friend's house. And, you know, her friend had been sick or whatever. So, you know, I was like, all right, cool. We'll go visit and hang out or whatever, do whatever. We're going to play board games. That's fine. But I told her, you know, I had some cool news that I wanted to tell her about, you know, later on. So I told her on the drive there, we had like a 40-minute hike. So we had a long drive. So anyway, I'm telling her about this kind of stuff. And like, she isn't responding, which I'm like, at this point, okay, I guess that's just what it is. Like, she's just not going to respond. It's just kind of how it goes. But anyway, in the middle of me saying this kind of stuff, I don't know how long I was going on for, but she sees something on the road. It was like a trailer or a camper or something. And she's like, oh my God, I've never seen a camper like that before. Like in the middle of me talking about something I was proud of. And, you know, I just kind of looked at her. I'm like, damn, you just kind of straight cut me off. So I just kind of stopped talking for a second. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I just go back to saying what I was saying. And then she sees another camper just like it and says the same thing. And I'm just like, all right, she's not interested in what I'm talking about once again. And this is something I'm really proud of. And I just stopped talking completely. I stopped talking totally because I'm one of those people where I have to really, and I'm not perfect. Like this is a non-perfect moment right here that I have, is I have to be very careful of what I say before I say it. So I have to kind of stop and just have a conversation with myself before I say whatever is on my mind. Because sometimes you say things and you may not say it in the right way and it comes off being hurtful, or you may not get your point across like you want it or whatever. So I just didn't say anything. And she had this like, it almost seemed like she had no idea anything was wrong, that we had just stopped talking completely when I was just talking the whole time. So I didn't talk until we got there, and I just kind of played it on. You know, we were just talking to them and having a good time or whatever. And then when we finally went back, that's when I finally brought it up. And she was just like, you know, well, I didn't even know that bothered you. And I'm like, what do you mean you didn't know that bothered me? We stopped talking the whole time. I thought you, and she was like, I thought you were just done talking. I'm like, damn, you can't even pick up on stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean? And you, it's not always good to assume someone thinks like you do. I mean, that's one of the biggest mistakes we make as humans in general, is, you know, thinking someone thinks just like you do. But I mean, I wasn't making it like super obvious, but it was pretty obvious. Like you usually just ask, you know, what's wrong? You know, it's simple, but that never happened. And what ended up happening is it just blew up at the end of the night. And I just told her straight up, you know, I honestly just don't think you really care about much of what I do or whatever. And then she was just kind of like, well, you know, maybe I think maybe we need to spend some time apart. And I was just like, oh, okay, then. Yeah, we should definitely break up then. And that's pretty much what I said. I was like, yeah, we should break up then. And I packed up and left. And that was the end of it. We didn't talk anymore after that. She came back and dropped off some stuff that I left at her place, but that was it. After that, it was over. But, you know, obviously I was hurt about it because I'm like, damn, you know, we couldn't have made it work, but there was not much to make work. You know, she had seemed very set in her ways, and that's just how she was. And that's how I was. and there was no compromise on either end, so we just ended it. So I mean, what are you guys' take on that? What do you think about that?
Go ahead, Sarah.
Well, it's funny because we did a bonus episode today, and it's a YouTube exclusive episode, guys. If you want to go check it out, it's on YouTube. Damian G Show, correct? On YouTube?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. We actually kind of talk about that and about it's when you're in a relationship, you're supposed to be investing in each other, and you have to, when one person is just genuinely not interested, you sit there and wonder, like, why do you have me around?
Right.
Is it just to have someone around? Because that's not fair. That's not fair to have.
That's what
to you. That's not fair to you. Yeah. You have to, there's a mutual investment, and we talk about this, like the team. It's for the team. And when you're in a relationship, it should be a team and a team effort. And y'all are a team. At least that's how I view it. And y'all both bring something to that teamwork, or the relationship. And you're supposed to build upon it. And so it seemed one-sided, I guess, which I get can be painful and annoying. And like, why am I giving
it's like
effort?
If it's one-sided, relationships mean that you're just holding on. You're holding on until something else comes along, or you just don't want to be alone,
And then you branch swing. That's what that is. To your point, Trax, I feel as if a simple conversation about what is happening before the silence, before look at the camper. Like if anyone feels that their partner isn't vestedly interested in what they have going on, and they're that self-centered on my stuff is better than your stuff because mine's teaching stuff, and you're just a streamer. Because I've gone through this where women have said, well, you are a broadcaster, but and I'm thinking, okay, I get paid to do this. It may not be a lot, but I get paid to do this. So I know you have, this one woman had a 6-figure job. And I said, I know you have a 6-figure job, but you hate your job. I love my job. And that's the difference. And I feel like in your realm, a conversation of, do you even care before this? Like, do you even care about things I'm interested in? Or am I just a body? Would have been something that everyone should have a conversation with their partners about, no matter how long. I call it the relationship superhighway. Once you're going down 35, you're going to get off? No? Okay, next exit. We're going to get off? No, keep going. And eventually you get 3 years, 6 years, 7 years. At the 20th year, if you still have grown apart and you don't want to compromise anymore, you get off the highway. What's the point of keeping something dead on life support? That's my opinion.
That's why, I feel like you got to get all that stuff out early on. I feel like the honeymoon phase, especially at our age, should no longer exist. I mean, of course, there's going to be a couple of weeks where you're just like, oh God, this is great. But then I believe in the superhighway being like warp speed. Yes. I really do. It's like, you really kind of have to, you really got to get to know each other, get all the crap, all the bullshit. You got to get it all out the way, get it all out in the open, whatever your baggage and stuff is, get it all out there within the first year or so. Because if you start bringing up all that stuff later on and you're worried about it from the beginning, then you're going to waste each other's time, and I think that's what it's more about nowadays is just time. We're not promised every day on this planet. And, if I want to be in a meaningful relationship, I don't want to have to feel like I'm always walking on pins and needles with this person. I want to be free and open to talk about everything, literally everything. That's what it should be. They should accept you, for who you are and what your flaws are, what your strengths are, all this stuff. And it's basically like you're trying to, it's almost like you're trying to find out, are you okay with this?
Testing a boundary of sorts.
Yeah, you're basically just testing the boundaries, because you may not have a lot and then you may have a ton, and but that's the beauty of relationships is trying to because there's been times where I'll say something super nerdy and I'll be embarrassed for myself, but then the other person's like, I love that. And it's just like, This is great.
Great.
Like those are the magic moments in relationships to me, when you are like afraid to say something, but you say it anyway, and you're like, please don't.
Mhm. Like,
So then it
nah.
ends up being, a great moment, because they're like, I'm into this too, or I like this too, or I think that's really cool. Tell me more about it. That kind of stuff. It's great. And I like doing that on the other side, not just saying, just for me, for that person too. Like they'll tell me like, I've always wanted to, be a dancer. I've always wanted to, do something, completely outrageous or whatever. And I'm like, I think that's cool. We should totally try and do it. Like actually try to come up with a plan to do this, And they'll be all surprised, like, wait, what? Which, I mean, it's not always the case, but, sometimes it is like that. But once again, I think that's the beauty of relationships is being able to just be yourself 100%, not trying to hide anything. Now, of course, if you have like bad qualities where it's like, oh, I've cheated on every person I've been with, then that's like, I don't know. Like, all right, so here's the question. Do you think is there such thing as too much information in relationships? Do you think some things are better left unsaid?
At first or overall?
Overall.
No. I honestly think, to your point earlier of get it out on the table, I think the vast majority of us have a good idea and understanding what is worth putting on the table early versus what is worth putting on the table later. For instance, if you're married, I want to know you're married if you're talking to me. That should be out on the table early. If you got 7 kids from 6 baby daddies, I want to know this stuff right off the bat. But if you tell me, hey, something really personal, I'm just going to make up something. I ran away from home when I was 14. I've been living on my own ever since. And they don't tell you about it until maybe 6 months in. That's fine. That's okay. That is a personal, I need to let my walls down a little bit with this person. So I'm going to take my time. There is nothing wrong with that. But if you lead off and you tell me, yeah, my dad beat me and I got molested at 5 on the first date, I'm going to recommend you a good therapist to go talk to, because I'm not the one.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, some stuff you definitely should kind of like ease into it. It's like drawing the curtains slowly, but it's not too slow. You don't want to do it too slow where it's like 5 years down the road, there's like something that's a deal breaker. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it could be something as crazy as like, I can't have kids, and you don't find out until, 3 or 4 years later, you just found out, okay, I really wanted kids, and then there goes the end of the relationship. Yeah. So yeah, certain stuff needs to be aired out quick, and then other stuff can wait till later. Like that, what you just said, Damian, that's something that can probably, I feel like some situations in the relationship are going to end up making those come across anyway, because of certain things that are said. Because that's the thing, you're not going to know what to say in a relationship all the time. Like there's going to be stuff that's said that might offend the other person or vice versa. And that's when you just make it known that, hey, I don't think this is cool, and here's why.
Simple
communication and understanding. Like all these things are like the freaking building blocks to relationships.
Those are the bedrock. You're right. It's the bedrock.
People are losing sight of that. I really feel like people are like, I was touching on this in Twitch one day where I was just like, people are forgetting how to talk to each other now. Like it's terrible. People don't know how to be social anymore. And we're seeing that in like our generation. Imagine what it's like for the kids that are growing up in this. Like it's nuts. Kids grow up with a phone in their hands.
Yeah.
They aren't going to know how to talk to people. It's scary.
We're going to talk in text code. That's where we're headed. We're literally going to just talk in emojis.
Yeah, people are going to have freaking the Google Glass. Like, I feel like that's going to be a thing at some point where you don't even have to pick up your phone. It's going to always be in your face.
What scares me how much this reminds me of, like, we're going towards WALL-E without even noticing.
Oh, yeah, I've known that for a while.
It terrifies me. I love that movie.
What do you think? What do you think Amazon is? Amazon is literally bringing things to your house so you don't have to leave your house.
I have used Amazon more this year than I ever have in my entire life. I'm not even kidding. It's too easy. It's scary easy. Like, and I feel like that's where we're going with everything. Like certain stuff that scares the crap out of me is like virtual reality. I'm not a huge virtual reality.
No, I ain't messing with that.
it's creepy. Like it's really, really creepy. Because I mean, you think about how fast technology has been like growing over the past, 5 or 10 years or so. Just imagine what VR is going to be like. Like people think it's funny now, but when people aren't leaving their houses because when you think about it, life is relative. I used to get mad at people for saying you should get a life or whatever. Life is relative. You don't know what life means to somebody else. Like my life compared to what someone else considers a life is totally different. Like for instance, people that play like massive multiplayer online games, that life is more important to them than real life. And I mean, that's not something that I'm going to shit on because, hey, whatever makes you happy at the end of the day is okay with me. But people really do that. Like, they're just like, this is the important life. I have all of my meaningful relationships in this video game. There's people that get married in the video game. When virtual reality, becomes even, more realistic, then what is going to be the point of even going outside and looking at like,
nature?
Yeah, crap. Well, the thing is, like, even if it is nature, like they could simulate like a much more beautiful version of that in the game itself. So it's like, or not even the game, but just the app. I don't even want to go. I don't want to call it just games because it's just apps. Apps that like relax you and all this kind of stuff. There's like no point. Hey, Chris, what's going on, man? How you doing? Oh man, I feel Chris. You're married, right? I think Chris is like totally married, so he might not be able to relate. But yeah, no, the virtual reality thing is scary. It really is. It scares me quite a bit. But go ahead.
So I'm assuming Chris is from your stream. Okay.
Yes, Chris is from the game.
We know a lot of Chris's. That's why I'm asking.
A lot.
He's the anti-Chris.
He's the anti-Chris.
I like that name, the anti-Chris. I kind of dig that one. So, okay. You mentioned something that was really important to me about if you meet someone who's into your hobbies and they could possibly be a gamer or a Twitch streamer. Is that a prerequisite for you that they have to be a gamer or they have to be involved in gaming or cons or anything like that?
Not really, because the thing is, that's kind of at least in my opinion, it's almost like that could be a gift and a curse. Like, because the thing is, the gift is obviously you can play video games together. You have similar interests. You can talk about a lot of the same things. But the curse is maybe they like different games that you don't even play, or stuff you're not even really interested in. Right. Or maybe you're around each other too much because it's like, hey, this is my like comfort zone, but you're in my comfort zone. Or not comfort zone, but you know what I mean? Like not comfort zone, but like your
space.
It's my me time, like my me time type situation. But you're also a part of that. So I guess it just depends. Like I don't want to call it a prerequisite because I just find that to be kind of unrealistic at this point. Like, I don't know. I really don't think I'd ever date someone that likes video games as much as I do, I guess you can say. But if they're interested in them, it'd be great,
I think you're probably, it's not that you need them to be a gamer or anything, but like if you're into it, they're interested because you like it.
Right. Or like you can just accept it.
Yeah.
Just accept it. Don't shit on it. Like actually accept it. And be like, oh, I think that's cool, blah, 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 and don't be like, there you go playing those video games. That's not cool, because it's like, this is more to me than just, video games. Because that's how some people view them is like, they're not important, but they are. And I think people, especially this year more than ever, are starting to understand like the mental benefits behind, gaming in general, so. Yeah, I mean that's that. I would definitely say the whole like being active thing is more of a prerequisite than the gaming thing is.
Okay,
interesting. I know, like I'm curious too because I know, like with me, when interests aren't necessarily a prerequisite. I can't speak today. For me,
it's hard to say.
Yeah, but like when I'm in a relationship with someone. We do not have to have the same interests, but what they're interested in is typically I learn about it because I want to know. And it's my way of showing that I'm invested in this and like, oh, okay, cool. And I feel like that's probably more of what is needed. It's not like, oh, you're way into like, let's see. I love I like a lot of things. I'm trying to think. Like I love yoga and working out, and a lot of people may not be into it, and so they'll be like, well, teach me about it. Okay, cool. We don't have to go do yoga all the time together. I actually don't like to work out with other people. Like
Either.
I hate having when I go over to Damian's
Neither.
house doing it with him, I go hide. Like I don't
Mhm.
like working out with people. I don't necessarily like doing yoga in front of people, but like I'll teach you and teach you the benefits, and as long as you're interested, like that's cool. But you don't have to work out with me. I almost don't want you to work out.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't. I've tried that and it just doesn't work because
Same.
like
I've tried.
the thing is it depends on because it's almost like taking it back to the whole gaming thing is like maybe I'm just a casual gamer and you're like a hardcore gamer. You can kind of put that into the workout space. It's like, I just like to do a little cardio here and there, do some stretching, I'm good. But I like to go in there and, hit the weights hard and scream while I squat, so, you may not be into that. So I don't know. I feel like, I guess that goes to something I don't think we've discussed yet is like having your own thing, is also really important. You can have similar interests and you can be interested in someone's interest, but everyone has their thing, that you probably won't dig at all, but that's okay because it's like, hey, this is my thing, so I don't really expect you to be into it. It's just if it's something that I'm doing regularly, then you kind of have to be slightly. That's why I say Twitch, I do it 4 days a week. So obviously that's something that's important. 4 days a week, 4 hours almost is the minimum for Twitch most of the time. So it's like if you're not into that, then it's like, crap, that's how I spend a lot of my time, and I'm not planning on sacrificing it. So
Nigel had it right too. He said, best put, I love that you're interested in that. Great, real simple. I love that you're interested in that. And then you have a point of conversation. And if you're more intrigued, then you start to get to know more about it. I mean, it's not rocket science, to be quite honest. For instance, my ex loved The Walking Dead. I despise The Walking Dead. I prefer the graphic novel to the television show, but I would never boo-hoo her from saying, hey, the graphic novel's better. Too bad this is trash. The one time I did have a boundary broken up over The Walking Dead was we went to a mutual friend's wedding and she was on her phone watching the season finale of The Walking Dead at the wedding when I wanted to go dance. At the time, my girlfriend, then became my wife. And it was just like, are you serious right now? You're watching The Walking Dead while everybody's dancing and having a good time, but you would rather be on your phone watching a television show.
Oh,
So
that's
boundaries, man.
Yeah, that's when it's considered a bad thing. And see, mutual interest and respect, it's a two-way street. What Chris said. Yeah, that's it. You can have mutual interest, but have respect for those different interests that you have.
Yep.
Don't shit on them unless it's something that is, once again, considered bad, but bad is relative too. Cause here's the thing. It just depends on what you consider, bad or good. Cause like some people may think, smoking weed is not okay. I don't want you doing that. But then you may meet somebody else that's like, I don't smoke weed, but I'm okay with it. Mm-hmm. Then they're okay with it. Mm-hmm. So, it really just depends on the type of relationship that you're in. So
let me ask you one more question. I know we're getting up there in time, but when I say the term "the one," what does that mean to you?
We talked about this last night. I don't know. The one is so hard to really truly describe, but thankfully, and I'm gonna be real here, I haven't been broken enough to get to a point where I don't believe there's someone out there for you. Because that's the thing. I think a lot of it has to do with how many times you've had your heart broken, or how some people aren't interested in being in relationships because they're too self-absorbed, and they just don't care. But I do believe that sometimes there are people out there that just like tick all the boxes so hard, and you're just like, dang, is this real? You know what I mean? Like that's what it kind of feels like sometimes. But once again, it really just depends because you never really know. That's why I think like with organic relationships, they're a little more telling than the swipe culture, because before you even know that person is interested in you, they're already being themselves, so it's not like, you're trying, like they're trying to be interested in stuff just to get your attention. This is stuff they already like, and you happen to like it too before you even know that you're attracted to each other, so that's one thing that I think makes the one be more of a realistic thing. And it's not like it's the one person. Like, let's not say it's like one person on the entire planet for you. I'm just saying that, oh man, I found one of the ones.
Yeah,
one of the people for me.
I found one of the ones that I think might be the person I'll be with for the rest of my life. And like, so, and one thing too, because I know you were talking about Tom, does that scare you when you say that you're going to be with somebody for the rest of your life?
No.
For
me, it doesn't.
No, because if you are committed to find that forever partner, if you don't poo-poo the thought of it ever happening, eventually no man or woman can survive alone. I'm sorry. You could be Wolverine as much as you want to be a loner, could be the Hulk and say, leave me alone. We're not cartoon characters. We're not comic book characters. We are living, breathing humans that eventually, inevitably, will need people in our lives in order to progress and grow. And I think when people say, oh, well, how can you just have sex with one person your entire life? I take that out the equation. I go back to How I Met Your Mother. I love this show and these little references where it's, do you picture yourself on the porch when you're 70 years old with this person, with your friends? If they do not fit that description of chilling with you when you're 70, then that's not the person for you. Now, if you, to your point, Trax, if you early in the relationship and the courtship process said, I just want to take it one day at a time, friends with benefits, is that what you're cool with? And they say yes, that's fine. But inevitably, you're going to want to stop jumping in between people's beds. I guarantee you. And eventually, you're going to want to grow with somebody, because without others, we can't grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, the partner for the rest of my life sounds so appealing to me because I hate dating. And honestly, I almost went back with my ex for the sole reason of I hate dating. Now, I didn't, and it was not healthy, but on both of our parts, but no. Tried it for like a week or two, and it wasn't gonna happen. It wasn't gonna work. But no, I love the idea of having that one person to not be on the market again. Like, I miss being in a relationship where I'm not having to be around. You have to play the freaking games when you're dating. I hate it. It's all a freaking game, and I don't like it. But it is. I'm done playing.
It's how you get in there. You got to find you got to beat the game straight up. That's the thing. You got to beat the game and have the happy ending, hopefully,
I love the gaming references, by the way. This is great.
Luckily, your game tracks. You are the game, Papa Tracks. Come on.
You gotta throw some game references in there. It's very relative.
And that's the whole point, is to get the good ending, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You got to get the good ending.
Yeah, no one wants. I don't think anyone really wants to be alone. Like, even if you are like a loner, like myself. I mean, I'm a hardcore introvert, and I'm very good at keeping myself company. Like, I don't have to be around people to feel fulfilled or anything. But everyone has that sense of like loneliness, or man, this would be so much cooler with another, significant other to do this with, or whatever. Everyone wants that, and I just think that one thing that's kind of scary is it's becoming easier and easier for people to replace that with other stuff. Which is the truth. You can really like not be in a relationship because you have all this other stuff going on, but I am not there yet. I definitely want to have, a partner for the rest of my life. I just do, because the thing is, you're going to have friends for the rest of your life and stuff like that. So having a significant other, with that right balance for you is only going to bring, joy and happiness to your life. Nobody wants to die alone. I mean, that's just the truth. So but don't settle either.
Oh, yeah, and
Don't settle. You know, if
ever.
you settle, you're gonna be resentful, you know, and all this kind of stuff. So feel like you miss out on everything and stuff. So yeah, that's my take.
Okay. I think this is as good a time as any to ask Trax if he wants to plug anything. Feel free, my friend.
Oh, yeah, sure. You guys can follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/GameTracks. Also have Instagram. You can follow me there. I do custom Game Boys. So if you guys are interested in that, you can totally check that out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And Twitter.
How did I not know this?
Oh, you didn't know I did custom Game Boys?
No.
Oh God, I just started doing that, so maybe that's why.
Okay.
I haven't made it all that known yet, but yeah,
Okay.
Twitter, Instagram, and twitch.tv/GameTracks.
And just for the ladies watching, are you single?
Of course I'm single. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't.
Look, my friend Chris jumps on, and he's been married since the beginning of time, so he jumps on from time to time. So I just figured I'd ask for the ladies. He is single. Creep in those DMs, say what's up, tell them who your favorite Final Fantasy character is. Whether or not Sonic the Hedgehog is overrated, because that's a make or break for him, okay?
Oh,
Tell them which is your favorite Sonic game of all time.
Oh, are you asking me that? Like
Mm-hmm.
Sonic 3.
No, I'm telling the ladies to tell you that in your DMs, so you can use it as a barometer.
Say, I love Sonic 3 too. Oh my God. Really?
If they say Sonic and the Seven Rings, then you need to run. Okay, that's all I know. It needs to know. Good soundtrack, bad game.
Just
But,
right. Fast you can, literally. Gotta go fast.
Gotta go fast. Sarah, any last questions you want to throw at Papa Trax's way?
No, I need to see these custom Game Boys. I was just sitting here today, man, thinking about, I miss having a Game Boy and playing Pokemon all the time. That was my best childhood memory. I've thought about this today, and
check my Instagram. I have pictures and stuff there, so definitely check
his
it out.
Instagram.
Okay.
Well, on that note, folks, thank you for tuning in. Hi, Ian, who just jumped in now, real quick. What a crossover! What up, Ian?
What a crossover! I love that.
Come to free play.
Free play crossover, the Tatsunoko versus free play, edition of Damian's Advocate. Myself, Damian Salty G. You can find me at Damian G Show down there on all your social media platforms. Coach_Girl Friday over there. The show's Instagram at Damian's Advocate, and you can email the show at DamianGshow@gmail.com for all your hate mail, because y'all hate me every once in a while because y'all think I'm mean. I love that. Yes, sir.
I said me too. Y'all come yell at me about defending men. I love it. Come on, keep going.
And you can find the show on twitch.tv/Damian Show, as well as on YouTube and on my Facebook live streams. And with that, my friends, remember, no man is an island, and without you, there is no us. And if she tells you to stop going on Twitch, send her the other way, because she got to go.
Got to go.